All right, hello and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about the question how to stop ruminating, or how do I stop ruminating? This was a question that was submitted by one of the listeners. And so if you have a question that you'd like to submit, please feel free to submit the question by just looking in the links below. There's a link where you can submit a question for a future episode. We fully appreciate your support with that. Also, if you would help us out by liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell on YouTube, or if you're joining us via podcast, please go ahead and leave us a nice review on iTunes or Spotify. It'll take a few minutes, but it really helps the show, and we really appreciate your support. Also, if you're looking for guidance on breaking out of that loop and really taking back control of your life, head over to restoredminds.com, or we also have some links down in the notes to get you started as well. So with that said, let's dive into the show. So the question that was submitted reads, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of read the whole thing here. So question reads, how do you stop ruminating? It's really hard for me to stop myself from mental checking, talking myself through certain thoughts, trying to find the reason behind them. It seems easier to stop behaviors if they're physical rather than mental. So this is a really common belief structure that I hear, meaning the idea it's somehow easier to stop physical behaviors than mental. And at the end of the day, that's not necessarily true. One of the things that with mental behaviors is that we fall into them so ritualistically, and we've been doing them so long, we're oftentimes not even aware that we're doing them. And as with anything, it's not always like trying to stop a behavior just cold turkey, and to stop it and change a behavior is not an effective process. I mean, if that was effective, then again, any destructive behavior would just tell someone to stop doing it, right? If someone is, excessively drinking or smoking cigarettes or anything like that, or using some kind of drugs, doing something they shouldn't be doing, telling them just don't do it is just not an effective behavior intervention strategy. If it was, then this would be a very easy process to break out of the loop, but it's not. And one of the reasons is because really you have to look at the underlying energy of the behavior, right? So when we're talking about OCD and anxiety, that's generally fear. And the reason we're doing safety behaviors or compulsions in the first place is because we're resistant to the feelings of fear, and we're also resistant to the thoughts that are popping in our mind. And our resistance are trying to stop, control, manipulate, avoid, reject, whatever it is. That is really at the cornerstone of what drives us then to do a compulsion or a safety behavior. And so when we start talking about how do you stop ruminating, well, to tell you to just stop ruminating would be terrible advice. And unfortunately, some people do that, right? They're just like, well, just don't ruminate, and it's like, yeah, obviously that's something that most of us have at least considered, right? That's why we're asking a question like this. And so the questions, the broader questions to ask are, okay, what are you resisting? Meaning, what are you trying to change? Are you trying to change the content of the thought? Are you trying to change the thought themselves? Or are you trying to change the feelings? Because whenever you work at the level or at any of these levels, when it comes to breaking the loop, very difficult to be successful, because by trying to change any of those things, you're automatically going to do a safety behavior. So we got to understand the problem first in the context of the loop, and which again needs the thought, needs the uncomfortable sensation, which needs the safety behavior, which needs the relief. And if those four components connect, then the loop forms. The more the loop forms, the more powerful it gets, the more thoughts pop up, the more intense the feelings are, the more you feel like you need to do the behaviors, and the more you're really craving that relief. So when we start to address this from the highest level possible, what's important to understand is that, number one, we're not trying to ever get rid of the thoughts. We're not ever trying to stop the thoughts, and we're definitely not engaging in the content of them. We really want to, and we really also want to make sure we understand what feeling we're trying to get rid of as well. And when you actually are able to stop moving in opposition to the thoughts and feelings, meaning not resisting them, that right there will alleviate a lot of the pressure of needing to do these compulsive behaviors. So that's why the AAA response is so focused on eliminating all resistance and how to handle the thoughts and feelings themselves. Because by doing that correctly, you'll actually indirectly make sure that you're not going to be engaging in the safety behaviors. So the question I would really flip it around is instead of how do you stop rumination, the first question I would ask you is, okay, well, what is causing you to ruminate? What are you resisting? What are you trying to change? And then how do we move in the opposite way of that and start learning how to work with either the thoughts or the feelings that you're having in a much healthier way that's not going to form the loop. And so it's not a matter of just stop ruminating. It's first we need to understand what you're resisting. Then we need to, once we drop resistance to that thing, then we can start to work at what to do with the thoughts and feelings in a healthy way to make sure that we're not engaging in that loop or that behavior that's going to create the loop, I should say. So hope that makes sense. And I hope that was helpful. For more info on that, we have the book From Stuck to Unstuck, my book. It's like $5, right, on our site. And we also have the audiobook with it for free. I think that's a great place to get started there. If you haven't seen it already, or if you're looking at this and you're struggling with this. And then obviously we have our full 12-week implementation program called Taking Back Control to really help you put this in practice in your life. So those two things would be great resources. But yeah, the first two things, like I said, would be things you can totally do on your own. Is number one, identify what it is you're resisting. And then number two, how do I move towards a more accepting and neutral response to that? Because it's actually what you're trying to do by ruminating is generally you're doing it in response to the energy of fear in your body. And so actually learning to fear and release and let go of fear. Feel and release and let go of fear is also going to be a huge thing for this. So, hope that helps. And I obviously you feel free to send us a follow-up question if you need to. And with that said, hope you guys have a great week. And as we move into the holidays, I know the anxiety can lift up a bit in certain times. So we're going to be talking about that a bit here on the show, I think, as well. And again, anyone that has any questions for future episodes, please feel free to send them in. So we're going to try to take some more questions and make some more episodes for you guys to get those questions answered. So thank you. Wish you a great day, and I hope to see you soon. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.